Kohei was a 3-inch loser who transferred to a boarding school hoping to crack cheeks. However, when he finally falls in love with the school's president, he finds out she's actually a vampire girl, so he promises to keep her secret in exchange for getting freaky. It all began when Kohei arrived at the Shuchiken Academy and was welcomed by a blonde who introduced herself as Erika, the student council's vice president. She seemed excited, but the moment Kohei shook her hand, his creep energy made her scream, and she fell to the ground visibly scared of the chick repellent. Just then, a guy named Tsukasa arrived, so Erika dumped her tour duties on him and dipped faster than your dad when you were born. She then hid behind a tree, trying to control her floodgates from erupting like a freaking volcano. At the same time, while the boys were walking to the dorm, Tsukasa asked Kohei what he'd done to make the almighty Erika shriek like she'd seen a titan. Kohei answered that he'd done nothing, but Tsukasa was convinced he had done something even if it was unintentional. When they arrived at the dorm, a tomboy loli came out of nowhere, slipped on the stairs and landed on Kohei, knocking him out instantly. When he eventually regained consciousness, he saw 2 girls and recognized them as Kanade and Haruna. They were sisters, who had been friends with him before he moved away 7 years ago. Haruna then asked Kanade to apologize for almost sending Kohei to the lobby, and she did by offering him chips. Later in the dorm, Kanade was telling embarrassing stories about Kohei to Haruna and their friends, while the boy himself listened from Tsukasa's room, which was directly below theirs. His belongings had been delayed due to a routing issue, so Tsukasa had generously offered him his floor to crash on. The next day, during lunch, the sisters crashed Kohei and Tsukasa's table, and Haruna, being the responsible one, apologized for all the noise they had made the previous night. She said they often held tea parties with their friends to catch up, and Kanade suggested that Kohei's room be the next venue since they had 7 years worth of catching up to do. As they chatted further, Kanade gave Kohei a map of the academy and explained that he was expected to take photos of all the marked locations before the entrance ceremony. She didn't explain why it was important, but after leaving the cafeteria, Kohei set off on the photo-taking mission. While he was at the school garden, he encountered a girl named Shiro trying to catch a rabbit. She was almost playing a live-action whack-a-mole, so he helped her before she'd become another Alice in Wonderland. Shiro thanked him for his help, and while they were talking, the school counselor and dorm mother, Sister Amike, arrived. After getting acquainted with her, Kohei turned to leave, but Shiro called out to him and offered to take him where he was going next. When they arrived there, he pulled out his camera to snap a photo, but was interrupted by Shiro's older brother, Seichiro. He immediately went into his sister complex mode, but backed down after Shiro explained that she was helping Kohei. Shortly after Shiro left, Iiyori, the student council president, walked out of the building and invited Kohei inside for tea. Kohei felt that Iiyori was being sus as hell, but he still followed him and was surprised when he ran into Erika. The girl wasn't too happy to see him and immediately pulled Iiyori aside to scold him. After she stormed out of the room, Iiyori apologized to Kohei and revealed that Erika was actually his sister. Before Kohei could recover from that revelation, Iiyori suddenly got all up in his face and told him that Erika had fallen in love with him at first sight, leaving him more shocked than before. Later, while Kohei was in the changing room, he couldn't help but wonder whether Iiyori had really been messing with him. However, as he walked into the bathroom and commented on how big it was, he ran into Erika in her birthday suit. He quickly tried to explain that he wasn't referring to her melons, but the girl was beyond angry and embarrassed, so she didn't listen and slapped him. Unknown to them, it was Iiyori who swapped out the bathroom curtains to lure Kohei into the woman's bathroom. When Seichiro reminded him to change the curtains back before someone else got caught up in his trap, Tsukasa happened to overhear them. Later, he found Kohei in the lounge nursing his red cheek, and just as he asked what happened, Kanade rushed over and called Kohei human scum for going into the female bathroom. The loli also slapped a disciplinary sticker on his forehead as punishment, but before Kohei could defend himself, Tsukasa shared what he'd heard in the bathroom. While they were discussing the prank with Haruna, Erika happened to walk by and overheard that her brother was to blame. Later, as Kohei and Tsukasa were walking to their rooms, Erika walked past them and told Kohei to meet her by the Zelkova tree tomorrow. Once she was out of earshot, Tsukasa revealed that the tree was a popular spot for the students to confess their feelings. Shocked, Kohei wondered if Iiyori had really been telling the truth about Erika being in love with him, so he decided to keep an open mind while speaking to Erika. The next day, before heading to the tree, Kohei dropped by the chapel to take a photo since it was one of the locations on the map. However, he started hearing strange sounds, so he looked again and found Iiyori drinking the blood of a female student. However, for some reason, he didn't think much of it and ended up going late to the meeting spot, but didn't see Erika. The next day, during the entrance ceremony, when Iiyori took the stage, Kohei had an instant flashback of the chapel scene from the day before, but he still believed the guy had pulled another Loki-level prank and refused to think much of it. As Iiyori gave his speech, the students cheered loudly, and when he was done wowing them, he gave way to the true star of the day, Erika. The moment she walked onto the stage, the students screamed louder than Taylor Swift's fans did at her Eras tour, leaving Kohei truly stunned by how much they loved her. When they all calmed down, she began her speech, talking about how she was willing to hold everyone's hands if they ever felt lonely. However, she suddenly switched up and put Kohei in the spotlight, branding him as a shameless degenerate who liked to show off his pickle. Kohei immediately tried to defend himself, but it was pointless, as no one would believe him over the school queen bee. Even in class, the students weren't interested in his introduction, and the incels amongst them begged him to tell them what it was like to see the melon goddess's work in person. Tsukasa was about to tell them off when a girl named Kuze opened the door and walked in. The vibe immediately died, and after she took her seat, the teacher instructed Kohei to take the seat behind her. On his way there, Kohei introduced himself to her, but she didn't even spare him a glance when she responded. Later, during free period, Kadehei stood outside with Haruna and Tsukasa, but those passing kept hailing him as the cultured king. His friends pointed out that the name would stick for a while, but Kohei didn't care as he was more interested in getting Erika to forgive him. So, he went looking for her in her class, but couldn't approach her because people were surrounding her. His only other chance was to go to the student council office after school, but the building was locked, so he didn't know what to do. Hours later, while Kohei was arranging his room, he heard a sound on his balcony. When he went to investigate, he saw a basket being lowered, and then Kanade appeared, using him as a human cushion. She didn't even apologize as she walked into his room, so Haruna, who had just come down the ladder, had to do it on her behalf. Kohei complained about the invasion, but the girls didn't care, so he let them stay and joined them for their tea party. Kanade then asked Kohei to hand her the photos from his photography quest, and the moment he did, she happily declared that she could finally make the pamphlets for the new students. That was the moment Kohei realized that the unofficial Smurf had tricked him into doing her job. She wasn't even sorry about it and even told him that, from now on, he should come to the advanced party room. When he tried to protest, Haruna bribed him with a cup of tea, and he folded. Days later, Shiro went to feed the rabbit, Yukimaru, and discovered that it had pulled a prison break. Meanwhile, Kohei and Tsukasa arrived at the school's entrance to find students gathered around the notice board. Tsukasa explained that they were checking the results of the previous mock exams and walked away because he couldn't care less about his position. Just then, Haruna walked over with a friend, and when she pointed out her name on the board, Kohei called her a smarty pant. Haruna assured him that she was just an average student, unlike Erika, who was the top student. Suddenly, they heard Erika say that she'd lost again, and as she walked away, Haruna explained that even though Erika was the top student, she could never beat Kuze in maths. Later, while class was in session, Kohei stared at Kuze, recalling what Haruna had said about her passing her other subjects at the borderline. She believed Kuze was doing it intentionally, and before Kohei could begin analyzing the whys, he noticed Yukimaru hopping around outside. After class, Shiro met Kohei and begged him to find the runaway rabbit. He told her that he'd spotted it earlier, and the girl grabbed his jacket, asking for the location. At that moment, Seiichiro showed up and, once again, assumed Kohei was being inappropriate with his sister, until Shiro explained what happened. Kohei then promised Shiro that he'd find Yukimaru and rushed off, leaving the siblings to stare at him. Afterwards, Seiichiro took Shiro to ask the blonde siblings for help, and Erika agreed because she couldn't say no to Shiro. Meanwhile, Kohei found Kuze and asked if she'd seen the rabbit. The cold-hearted girl told him it was stupid to get involved with others, as nothing good ever came from it. But Kohei disagreed and rushed off after telling her to loosen up a bit. His search for Yukimaru led him to the soccer field, where, coincidentally, Erika was also searching for the rabbit. Kohei figured it was his chance to patch things up with her, but Yukimaru decided to make his appearance at that moment. Erika's eyes immediately changed color, and she rushed towards Yukimaru. But Kohei was the one who saved the little furball from getting hit by a soccer ball. So, she decided to help Kohei get up, only to pull back when he attempted to take her hand. Kohei just stared at her in disappointment, and as she tried to explain herself, Yuri popped out from behind her and pointed out that Kohei had injured his hand. When he tried to help him wipe it, Kohei suddenly recalled the chapel scene again, so he pulled his hand away, saying he didn't need help. Just then, Shiro and Seiichiro arrived, and when Yukimaru was safely in her arms, she thanked Kohei for helping her. Erika just watched the exchange from behind Yuri, but later she went to find Kohei to thank him as well. The boy took the chance to apologize to her for the bathroom incident and for standing her up. Erika accepted the 3 apologies but said he wasn't to blame for the bathroom incident. Kohei insisted he needed to apologize, then fell out of his chair, making Erika laugh. She then admitted that she'd gone too far during the opening ceremony and offered him her hand, saying they should start over. Kohei hesitated to take her hand, but she gave him a reassuring smile, so he took it, and they became friends. Meanwhile, in the student council office, Seiichiro gave Iiyori the results of the blood test they had secretly conducted on Kohei, and Iiyori confirmed why Erika reacted the way she did around Kohei. Days later, as Kohei and the gang, including Erika, walked to school, Kanade invited Erika to join them for their next tea party, and she told her she'd bring Shiro along. As they continued walking, those around them didn't bother hiding their jealousy, as they couldn't understand why royalty was rolling with trash. Their friends then began teasing them about it until Iori crashed the party and started trying to play matchmaker. Erika told him to buzz off, and after she walked away, Iori turned to Kahei and said that his neck looked tasty. The young man immediately recoiled, pointing out that he wasn't into whatever Iori was trying to initiate, and then rushed off to join his friends. Iori just watched him go, with a suspicious smile that spoke volumes about what he was thinking. That night, Kohei found Kanade in the lounge watching anime, and while they were talking, Haruna arrived, carrying a basket for their tea party. The two suddenly acted weird when she asked why they were so close to each other, but she decided to overlook it. Eventually, they all gathered in Kohei's room, and when Erika arrived with Shiro, they pointed out that Kohei's room was as plain as his face. Shiro asked if she could decorate it with flowers, but Kohei refused, saying he wasn't interested in becoming a bee's best friend. Erika tried suggesting something else, but got distracted when she noticed Haruna pulling out teacups from her basket. After she helped her set up, the tea party officially began, and they had a few laughs. Suddenly, Kanade announced they were going shopping to buy items for Kohei's room and to deepen their friendship. Nobody argued or refused, so the next day, they all went downtown together and spent the entire day shopping. When evening rolled around, they went to the seaside, and while the water was attempting to wash Kanade away, Erika went to talk to Kohei. She said she enjoyed the day, and Kohei admitted that it was more fun than he thought it would be. When he mentioned that he was glad that he chose to return to the island, Erika assured him that if he stuck with her and the crew, he would have a buttload of happy memories to tell his grandbabies. However, she warned him to be careful around Iori, claiming the guy wasn't just a wannabe TikTok prankster. The following week, when Kohei arrived at school, he got spooked by Iori, who teased him for being a scaredy cat. When Kohei tried to walk away, Iori stopped him and asked him to come to the council room after school. He then walked away, leaving Kohei to wonder what the guy was plotting this time around. Nevertheless, he showed up at the council room after school as instructed and was surprised to learn that Iori had summoned him to play a game. Iori claimed it was the best way for them to get to know each other. Before Kohei could respond, Shiro placed a cup of tea in front of him, prompting him to smile at her. But Seichiro suddenly showed up and told her that she was running late for her chapel duties. Shiro understood that she was being dismissed, so she quietly left. Iori then began the game and explained that whenever they drew a card, they had to do what it said, as it was the law. When it was Kohei's turn, he pulled a card that told him to accept the reality of what was about to happen. The instruction was very ominous, but Kohei forgot about it when Iori pulled a card that asked him to stab his hand with a knife. Initially, Kohei assumed Iori would only pretend to stab himself, only to be shocked when the crazy guy actually did it. Iori reminded him that what the card said was law and even claimed that stabbing himself wasn't a big deal. To prove it, he pulled out the knife and in a matter of seconds, the wound closed up, leaving no scar behind. Kohei could only stare at the once injured hand, so Iori revealed that he was one of those creatures of the night. At that moment, Erika arrived at the door and overheard her brother telling Kohei that his neck looked tasty. Kohei's reaction to that was to imagine Iori taking a bite out of his neck and leaving him for dead. However, none of that happened, and as he sighed in relief, Iori assured him that he wasn't interested in drinking his blood. He then revealed that Erika was also a vampire, and before Kohei could wrap his head around that, Erika walked in and confirmed her brother's words. Seeing Kohei in disbelief, Iori reminded him of what his card said, and he realized that Iori had planned everything from the start. Still, he argued that the whole thing was ridiculous, and Iori told him to believe what he wanted. However, since he discovered their secret, he wanted Kohei to join the student council. If he refused, all of his memories since coming to the academy would be wiped, unlike that girl from the chapel, who had only that incident wiped from her memory. The thought of starting over on a clean slate didn't faze Kohei since he was already used to starting his life over. And even when he realized that he wouldn't remember the time he'd spent with his friends, Kohei still requested to have his memory wiped. Iori was disappointed to say the least, so he told Kohei that they didn't need cowards like him anyway, and left with Seichiro after instructing Erika to handle the memory wipe herself. Afterwards, Erika took Kohei to a lake and gave him another chance to change his mind, but the boy assured her that he wasn't going to do that. Erika tried to do it, but ended up breaking down into tears and insulting Kohei for taking the easy way out. She couldn't understand why he was willing to throw away everything he'd built since transferring there, and this finally got the idiot to think. After taking a few moments to reminisce about the life he was about to throw away, Kohei apologized to Erika for being insensitive and asked her not to wipe his memory. He said he was tired of being the new guy, but she told him that he should have said that he didn't want to lose any more bonds. They then returned to the student council office, and he informed Iori that he was taking the job offer. The next day, things started as usual, and after school, Kohei reported to the student council room for his first day of duty. Before handing him any work, Iiyori educated him on what it meant to be a vampire, making it very clear that the movie industry had the wrong idea. When Shiro came to bring them tea, Iiyori explained that she and Seiichiro knew the secret because their families had a long-standing history. He then continued his vampire crash course, telling Kohei that the only thing Hollywood got right was that vampires were incredibly strong, resistant to illness, and immortal. When he mentioned that he himself could be as old as the dinosaurs, Kohei turned to look at Erika. The girl quickly clarified that she and Kohei were the same age. She added that although garlic and the sun didn't affect them like they did the movie vampires, she wasn't entirely sure what would happen if they got staked. It was already established that they could erase memories and that they loved blood, but Erika explained that they got their blood through the proper channels. What had happened in the chapel was a rare occurrence, so Kohei didn't have to worry about Iiyori latching onto him like a leech. This statement prompted Kohei to ask why they needed blood, and Erika admitted that they didn't know. At that, Iiyori officially welcomed Kohei to the team and asked that he give Erika his unwavering support. However, he couldn't help himself, so he talked about their bathroom encounter and earned a punch from Erika. She then warned Kohei never to even think about the incident again, but he told her that he couldn't make any promises. Iiyori returned at that moment and informed Kohei that there was something he wanted him to handle. Following this, he took Kohei to the sports festival planning committee and introduced him as the lead organizer. Both Kohei and the members were surprised by this announcement, and when Kohei complained, Iiyori told him it was a way for him to learn how the student council worked. He then took a seat, leaving Kohei to address the members and command their respect. Surprisingly, they didn't boo him off the podium and even clapped when he finished his speech, asking that they work in harmony like the Four Nations did before the Fire Nation attacked. Iiyori was impressed by Kohei's talk no jutsu ability, so when they returned to the council office later, he told Erika all about it. She tried to assist Kohei with the paperwork, but Iiyori forbade her, saying that as she pampered him, he'd get lazy. As the days passed, Kohei spent a lot of time in the student council office trying to finish all the paperwork. However, one evening, when Kanade, Haruka, and Suikasa dropped by for their tea party, they found Kohei passed out with papers scattered everywhere. It wasn't until after they helped him fix the place that he informed them that he joined the student council and was in charge of the sports festival. Tsukasa jokingly sympathized with him for losing his freedom, but the sisters were nice enough to wish him the best. Kanade did hers during the tea party, and Haruna did hers, while she was helping Kohei clean the cups. Since they had both made references to the past, Haruna felt nostalgic and decided to read the old letters Kohei sent to her. The following day, when Erika arrived at the student council office, she was shocked to find that Kohei's paper stacks had doubled. The boy explained that he needed to familiarize himself with how the school held its sports festival, so he needed all the info he could get. Iiyori complimented Kohei's zeal, but then dumped more work on him by asking him to sort out the old reference materials in the storage room. Kohei was more than happy to take on the new task, but Erika thought he was turning into a corporate slave and decided to help him. Shiro also wanted to join them, but Seiichiro asked her to make some more tea. By that time, Erika had already arrived at the storage room and tried to bring down an old box, only to fall off the ladder. Fortunately, Kohei was there to cushion her fall, and although their position was a bit compromising, they overcame temptation and began gathering the photos that fell out of the box. The photos were really old, and when Kohei saw Iiyori in one of them, he had to agree that anti-aging cream had nothing on him. He tried showing Erika the photo, but found her looking through the photos and smiling. She pointed out how happy everyone looked and wondered if they could recreate that feeling during their own sports festival. Because of this, Kohei locked in even more, and as the days passed, he made sure to be involved in everything related to the sports festival. Shiro told Erika that all her classmates had grown to admire Kohei's proactiveness, and Iiyori added that the boy's motto was, "So everyone can have a better school life." He claimed he didn't know where or how he'd come up with it, but when he noticed Erika smiling, he knowingly chuckled. Later that same day, while Kohei was going through the festival program at lunch, Kanade and Haruna joined his table, so he asked them to suggest more fun events. Kanade began mouthing off her suggestions, but was ignored because they were all about torture. Haruna didn't have anything to suggest and just offered Kohei some honey juice, saying he looked stressed. After taking a sip, Kohei exclaimed that the juice was delicious, so Kanade proudly jumped to her sister's side and told him to feel honored that Haruna had rewarded him for working hard. Suddenly, an idea popped into his head. So during the next committee meeting, he suggested reaching out to local vendors to sponsor the festival and give gifts to event winners. He also proposed inviting the islanders to attend the festival, but the committee members didn't think his ideas were good since they had never been done before. Shiro, who had been listening by the door, felt sorry for Kohei, so when Kohei decided to go into town alone to look for sponsors, she insisted on accompanying him. Thanks to that, every vendor they spoke to agreed to become a sponsor. It turned out that Shiro's family were very prominent on the island, so everyone loved and respected them. She had also spent her whole life on the island, so she knew how things worked and what to say to the people. Kohei thanked her for the assist and promised to give her an off-island tour one day, making her very happy. Days later, after Erika finished the paperwork in the office, she took a stroll and found Kohei putting the finishing touches on the ceremonial gate with some of the other organizers. Shiro happened to come along when it was time to transport the gate, so they rushed over to help. Coincidentally, the rest of the Kohei gang also pulled up, and after they successfully put up the gate, everyone began praising Kohei. No one even noticed Yuri and Seiichiro watching them from a rooftop, and Yuri commented that it was the first time he'd seen Erika that happy. This prompted Seiichiro to say that his plan was working well, and Yuri bragged that he'd made the right choice choosing Kohei. Unfortunately, the gate suddenly fell, leaving the crew shocked. Since there was no time to fix it, they patched it with tape and left it that way. The next day, before the ceremony kicked off, Kohei was asked to recite the school oath as the lead organizer, but he almost fumbled it because he was so nervous. After he eventually got the words out, the festival officially kicked off. The field events were the first to take place, and Kuze participated in the girls' 100-meter race but didn't place first. Despite this, Kohei complimented her on placing second, and the girl brushed it off, saying it was only because she wasn't serious about it. That statement reminded Kohei of what Haruna said about Kuze purposely failing her exams, but he let her walk away. Just then, Kanade announced that Kohei would be the commentator for the 400-meter race. While he was trying to decline the role, the race began, and Kanade immediately started glazing Haruna, who was one of the runners. When she realized what she was doing, she stopped and pleaded with Kohei to take over so she wouldn't remain biased. Kohei almost didn't agree, but when Kanade began singing about how much she loved Haruna, he snatched the microphone away. However, he was no better than her, because he started comparing Erika and Haruna to racehorses, making everyone laugh. Unfortunately, Erika didn't get the joke, so after the race, she charged at him and punched his lights out. The whole scene was comedic, so everyone still laughed. After all that, the events continued, and the students put in all their efforts until lunchtime. Haruna had made a lot of food, so she asked Kohei and the others to join her. While they ate, Kanade brought up the upcoming three-legged race and started teasing Kohei, saying he was going to tie the knot with Haruna. Kohei told her to stop talking nonsense, but the girl ignored him and began blabbing about irrelevant things. As expected, no one paid attention to her, and Erika smoothly shifted the conversation to the balloon toss game. The idea came up while Kanade and Haruna were helping Kohei brainstorm, and he said he couldn't wait for everyone to enjoy it. Unfortunately, he wouldn't be participating in the event, but Kohei said he was fine with just watching people enjoy it. As soon as the words left his mouth, Kuze, who was passing by, told him to stop acting like his middle name was Mother Teresa. Erika felt she was being rude, but Kohei defended Kuze, saying he was being a little too humble. After Kuze walked away, Erika asked Kohei how the lone wolf girl had fared in class, since she knew she was still skipping classes. Kohei didn't respond, but he did go looking for Kuze before the games began again. He asked if she'd return for the remaining game, and she said she wouldn't because all the games she'd signed up for were already finished. Hearing this, Kohei admitted that he hadn't expected her to participate in any event at all, but said it was kind of sad to see that she was distancing herself from their classmates. Kuze just kept looking back, prompting him to ask whether she was waiting for someone. When Kuze didn't respond, he tried to say something, but was cut off when he heard his name over the intercom, so he turned to leave, encouraging Kuze to come down to the field and join in the fun. When the ball toss game kicked off later, Kohei was informed that the remaining gifts weren't enough for all the events left. There had been a slight mix-up, and those responsible apologized, but they didn't know what to do. As the lead organizer, Kohei had to come up with something fast, and he eventually came up with the idea of giving the winners vouchers to claim their gifts on another day. Since it was a last-minute thing, the vouchers had to be hand-drawn. And then he went with 2 other people to speak to the sponsors about giving them more gifts. When the sponsors heard what was happening, they happily agreed to provide the gifts since they were all enjoying the event. Meanwhile, the balloon toss game was still in full swing. Iiyori used the chance to aura farm as usual. Seiichiro played the protective big brother, and Kanade almost gave the male population a nosebleed because her wet shirt had become see-through. She became so embarrassed that she slapped discipline stickers on all their faces to stop them. As the chaos continued, Haruna rushed to get more balloons, but she tripped and twisted her ankle just as the game rounded up. Thanks to that injury, she couldn't participate in the three-legged race with Kohei. As they tried to find a replacement, Kohei spotted Kuze walking past and rushed over to ask her to be his partner. Kuze didn't want to do it, but when Haruna pitched in, and she saw their classmates looking at her hopefully, she changed her mind. However, she made it clear that she wouldn't be responsible for the outcome. To prepare for the race, Haruna braided Kuze's hair into pigtails and admitted that she had always wanted to be her friend. But because Kuze was the resident ice queen, she never dared to approach her. Kuze didn't know how to respond, so she asked how much longer the braids would take. A little while later, the race began, and while some pairs fell early, Kohei and Kuze kept going. Erika and her partner easily took the lead, but Kohei told Kuze that they had to catch up and win. When they got to the final obstacle, Kohei untied the ropes tying their legs so that Kuze could slip into the makeshift changing room. When she re-emerged, she was wearing a cat-eared maid costume, and everyone immediately gushed about how cute she looked. Haruna was an exception because she wasn't entirely happy that Kuze had loosened her braids. Just then, Erika came out wearing a ridiculously large duck outfit. She knew it was Iori's doing, but there was nothing she could do about it, and when she tried to walk, she fell. Seeing this, Kohei grabbed Kuze's hand and ran towards the finish line, securing first place for their class. With that, the festival concluded, and as people left, Erika overheard them say the event had been fun. While Kohei's classmates praised him for coming first, Iori and the rest of the student council came to find him. Iori congratulated him on pulling off a successful event and rewarded him with a key to the council room, even though he initially claimed it was for his room. As Kohei stared at the key, some members of the planning committee came to steal him away. However, he called out to Erika, saying being a council member wasn't that hard, and she replied that he hadn't seen the half of it yet. Days later, Kohei ran into Haruna while she was putting up flyers asking for volunteers for the Community Service Month. She asked if the student council was still going to help out as they promised, but Kohei had no idea what she was talking about. Iori had conveniently failed to mention it to him, but Kohei didn't mind and said he would help her put up the remaining flyers. As they moved on to the next board, they didn't notice Kanade watching them from behind the lockers, and she concluded that her sister had a crush on Kohei. But she couldn't figure out how Kohei felt about Haruna, so she decided to spy on him that night. The clueless Kohei was busy reminiscing and rereading the old letter that Haruna sent to him after he left the island. This action convinced Kanade that Kohei shared her sister's feelings, but she got too excited and gave herself away. So Kohei called Haruna over to collect her sister, who was playing spy. Kanade claimed that she only wanted to know what he did during his free time, but that just made her sound like a crazy fan obsessed with her idol. She then ran off, saying she needed to water her pet plant, so Haruna apologized to Kohei on her behalf and followed her. The following day, Kanade sat with Kohei during lunch, and when Haruna walked over and saw them, she tried to find another table. She hadn't gotten very far when Kanade noticed her and insisted that she join them. She also whispered in Haruna's ears that she had her back and then left after claiming she was already full, when the truth was that she was trying to be their wingman. That night, during their tea party, she pushed Haruna to pay more attention to Kohei. When Tsukasa asked Haruna for more tea, Kanade tried to squash his head, saying he couldn't read the room and then slapped some disciplinary stickers on his face. As she continued tormenting him, Kohei and Haruna just watched, unable to ask why she was asking that way. A few days later, they met in an empty classroom to discuss Kanade's strange behavior. However, they never got around to doing it because they suddenly heard Iori speaking through a megaphone. The guy announced that the student council was holding a special event to kick off the cleaning month committee, and Seichiro was behind him, handing out flyers. Kohei was surprised by this news, but Haruna seemed already aware, so she told him she had to go help finalize things because the special event was to unveil the cleaning committee's uniforms. Kohei immediately went after her and was surprised to see Erika and Shiro dressed as maids when they arrived at the event venue. They weren't the only ones, and it turned out those outfits were supposed to be the new cleaning committee uniforms. That idiot Iori had chosen them, and seeing the smug smile he wore, Kohei finally realized that Iori hadn't informed him of anything because he knew Kohei would object to his ridiculous idea. Just then, Haruna rushed in wearing one of the outfits and apologized for being late, but Kanade didn't let her join the others immediately. She pulled Kohei to the front with her and then handed a camera to Seichiro to take a photo of the three of them. Kohei and Haruna immediately protested the idea, but the stubborn Kanade kept insisting. She couldn't understand why Haruna was refusing to take a photo with her crush. So she told the girl that she was doing it for her own good, and that was when the normally calm girl snapped. She angrily asked Kanade if she always treated her like a dim-witted idiot because she had lost her memories after an accident years ago. Before Kanade could respond, she ran off, leaving everyone, especially Kanade and Kohei, shocked by her sudden outburst. Later that same day, Kohei found Kanade sitting alone in the cafeteria, and she apologized for how things turned out. While they hashed things out, Haruna arrived, but the second she saw her sister, she pulled a tactical retreat. At this, Kanade began singing the self-blame song and said that if it weren't for her, Haruna never would have gotten into an accident. Haruna had always been sickly right from birth, but by some miracle, she got better. So their mother allowed them to go out and play. However, the condition was that Kanade always watched out for her little sister. On the day the accident happened, Kanade hadn't been with Haruna, and when she went to see her in the hospital, she discovered that she had suffered partial memory loss. She still knew who her family was, but all the memories she had of Kohei had vanished like the Avatar, which was why she stopped sending him letters. After listening to all Kanade had to say, Kohei decided to hear Haruna's version, so he took her out that weekend. While they were at a cafe, he repeated Kanade's story to Haruna, including the part where she blamed herself for the accident. Surprisingly, Haruna said she never blamed Kanade for what happened to her. Neither was she mad at her for being overprotective and sometimes overbearing. What she was mad about was that Kanade always neglected herself, and she wished Kanade would finally let go of her guilt and be happy. After listening to all she had to say, Kohei told Haruna that the only solution was to tell Kanade how she truly felt, and Haruna agreed. That night, Kohei took Kanade to the Zelkova tree for a heart-to-heart with her sister. During the discussion, Haruna admitted that every time she was holed up in the hospital, she was jealous of Kanade because Kanade got to play and attend school. However, she never hated her, and even after her accident, she never once blamed Kanade because it wasn't her fault. She then begged Kanade to start living her own life and stop doting on her every 5 seconds. Kanade stubbornly refused, saying she wanted to make up for all the times she had never taken care of Haruna when they were growing up. Hearing this, Haruna reminded Kanade that she was now grown and told her that if she truly wanted her to be happy, she had to start putting herself first. This statement was enough to stop whatever argument Kanade had lined up, so the girls promised to live happy lives together. To seal the promise, they hugged tearfully, and when they pulled apart, Kohei gave Haruna the last letter she ever wrote to him. In the letter, she'd asked whether it was okay to keep sending him letters even though she couldn't remember him. After reading it, Haruna admitted that she'd sent the letter out of desperation to get her memories back, but she never did. Kohei told her that it didn't matter because they could always make new ones, and the sisters agreed. With that, they faced the tree and wished that they would continue making memories together for a long time. The following weekend, Iiyori, the modern slave driver, sat in the student council room, reading a magazine he had taken from Erika. At the same time, Kohei prepared for a last-minute pool event that Iiyori decided to have. When Kohei complained about how stressful it was to get everything ready, Iiyori acted like his ears had stopped working. He then started reading lines from the magazine, and when he stumbled into the horoscope section, he said he wanted to check whether he and Seiichiro were compatible. Seiichiro told him he didn't need a horoscope to confirm to him that they were match made in limbo, so Shiro asked if Iiyori could check hers and Yukamaru's. Iiyori promised to do that later and then asked Kohei for his birthday so he could check his compatibility with Erika. Kohei refused, but Iiyori was already searching for Erika's birthday, and when he mentioned it was on the 7th of June, Kohei realized the date matched that day. Believe it or not, that idiot Iiyori didn't even look bothered, and when Kohei asked how he could have forgotten his own sister's birthday, he said their family wasn't big on birthdays. Kohei thought it was absurd because he believed everyone deserved to celebrate their new age, but Airi assured him that even Erika wouldn't care. He then asked Kohei to go into town and get a new toilet brush, but Kohei clocked that he was permitting him to get Erika a birthday present, so he happily rushed out. Erika happened to see him on her way in, so she asked her brother where Kohei was sprinting to under the hot sun. Iiyori replied that he'd gone to buy a toilet brush, which made no sense because who would be excited over a toilet brush? Later in the day, the cleaning committee began scrubbing the swimming pool, and surprisingly, that slacker Iiyori even joined them. As for Seiichiro, he only moved his brush because Shiro pleaded with him. Meanwhile, Erika and Kohei were working on the final details for the pool event when someone knocked on the door, claiming to be a sushi delivery guy. Kohei told Erika he'd ordered it and quickly slipped outside to pick it up, but it was actually Tsukasa on the other side holding a gift box. As he handed it over to Kohei, he told him that he expected to be compensated with 2 weeks' worth of lunch for being used as an errand boy. When Kohei returned to the office, he presented the gift box to Erika, but the girl was skeptical and asked if he'd rigged it. Kohei reminded her that his name wasn't Iiri, so she opened the box and was surprised to see a basket of flowers. Kohei then said, "Happy birthday," but it took her a few seconds to realize the flowers were meant for her. He explained that while he was out getting the brush, he'd stopped by the flower shop, but the shopkeeper had told him that since it was an express order, he had to come pick it up himself that evening. As fate would have it, Tsukasa happened to roll up on his bike at that moment, so Kohei got him to agree to pick up the order for him. Erika just stared at the flowers without saying a word, so Kohei wondered if he had overstepped, but then she spoke up, saying it was the first time she received a gift and that it made her feel normal. As she thanked him, she got emotional and had to wipe her tears. Still, she thanked him again, prompting him to ask whether her vocabulary bank had run out of other words. Erika told him not to tease her, so he apologized and told her it was time to get back to work. That night, Erika sat in her room admiring her flowers as if they were the most beautiful she'd ever seen. She was so happy that Kohei had gotten them for her, but then, the next moment, she suddenly clutched her chest in pain. The pain lasted for a few more seconds, and when it finally let up, Erika was panting as if she'd just completed a marathon. About a week later, the pool was open to the students, and while the girls were changing, Shiro noticed that she was the only one whom the melon goddess hadn't visited yet. Well, Kanade was in the same boat as her, but that pipsqueak rocked her surfboard figure like a true champ and assured Shiro that one day she, too, would grow to be like her. At this, Shiro looked at Kanade's chessboard and silently prayed that the future didn't look like that. Kanade then moved over to Kuze and asked why she hadn't played hooky. Kuze admitted that she was tired of getting nagged by Kohei, so Kanade patted her head, saying she would eventually get used to it. A little while later, the pool event kicked off, and all the students were hyped. After the first race, Iiyori got up on one of the diving platforms and began showing off his unsculptured chest, which surprisingly got the girls screaming. However, he didn't get to enjoy the attention for long because Erika pushed him in the pool, saying he should cool off for a bit. When she returned to her spot under the tent, she complained that Iiyori was too full of himself, but Kohei said the guy was the life of the party. Just then, Kanade and Haruna approached them to say hello and gave them some juice. After the sisters left, Erika offered Kohei the sandwiches she had made for them since they weren't going to swim. While eating his, he noticed she put the yakisoba noodles he liked in his and realized that she'd really put some effort into the food. Eventually, the next event kicked off, and Kanade announced that the winners would receive free lunch tickets. It was a hat-stealing game, and all they had to do was not let the judo club members swipe their hats. Everyone had their hats taken except for Kuze, who moved like she was one with the water, and Shiro, whose cuteness made the guys give up. After Kanade announced them the winners, Iiyori swiped the mic from her and announced that the pool was open to all, so the students dove in. He did end up getting kicked into the water again since Erika was just annoyed with his stupid face. At the end of the day, after everyone had left, Erika and Kohei stayed back to clean since they were the organizers. They chatted happily while they worked, and once the poolside was all cleaned up, Kohei proposed that they swim a lap, and she agreed. When they finished, Erika pulled Kohei out of the pool, but they slipped on the water and almost kissed. As they stared at each other, Erika's chest began hurting again, so she pulled back and ran to her room. There she lay, clutching her chest, and as she started drooling, she realized she needed to drink blood. However, since it was against her rule to drink from a human, she kept struggling and accidentally knocked over her flowers. After she managed to fall asleep, she dreamt of a cloaked version of herself drinking Kohei's blood and immediately jerked awake. As she looked around in confusion, the memory of the past hours slipped into her mind, and she wasn't happy to see that she destroyed her flowers. Meanwhile, a female student who was just leaving the chapel spotted a cloaked figure Aura farming on the roof and screamed. Sister Ameki immediately rushed outside to check on the girl, but the girl could only point fearfully at the roof, even though no one was there. The next day at school, the rumor that there was a vampire on campus spread like wildfire, so the council members went to speak to Iiyori about it. He brushed it off, saying the students had an overly active imagination, but Kohei still asked if he was the one. Iiyori assured him that he wasn't that stupid to allow himself to get caught in 4K and outright accused Erika of being the cloaked figure. Erika fiercely denied it, prompting Shiro to ask if something was wrong, but she did not. Kohei then asked if other vampires were living on the island, and Iiyori neither confirmed nor denied it. His obvious dismissal of the topic made Kohei suspicious, but Seiichiro said the most important thing was to uncover the truth. At this, Iiyori declared that they would begin patrolling the school grounds that night, but Seiichiro instructed Shiro to remain in her room. On their way to the dorm later, they overheard two students still discussing the issue, and Erika admitted that it made her restless. Iiyori said it was because she was still an amateur vampire, and assured her that once they uncovered the truth, everything would return to normal. When they eventually got to the dorm, they found Kanade carrying a cross and garlic while Haruna and Tsukasa tried to talk her out of her crazy idea of going vampire hunting. Kanade insisted that she had to do something to protect her sister from the blood-sucking demon lurking in the shadows and assured them that her cross and garlic would do all the work. Erika felt weird listening to Kanade speak, so Iiyori stepped forward and put the garlic around Kanade's neck, saying that was the most effective way. Immediately, the strong smell assaulted her nose and eyes, so she declared she would use it only as a last resort. Just then, Sister Ameki began banging her frying pan and scolded Kanade for trying to play Vampire Slayer. She said vampires weren't real and forbade any of them from leaving their rooms at night until the culprit was caught. Iiyori whispered under his breath that they couldn't do that and then tried to appease the angry nun. But Erika and Kohei noticed the sign he made behind his back. So that night, while they were supposed to be in their rooms observing curfews, they snuck out to patrol. As they walked around and didn't find anyone, Erika admitted that she felt like a fraud because she was actually a vampire. Kohei pointed out that everyone had a secret or two and added that, since she was working to protect the students, there was no way she could be a traitor. His words instantly lifted her spirits, but the next moment, the bloodlust returned, so she closed her eyes to try to control herself. This made Kohei ask if she was okay, and she assured him that she was. However, as they began walking, she didn't walk next to him until they regrouped with Iiyori and Seiichiro. The guys confirmed that they hadn't seen anyone on their patrol, but then a light breeze blew, and the vampire siblings immediately went on their guard. Seeing this, Kohei looked around and spotted the cloaked figure leaping onto the chapel roof. Erika was relieved to see that the culprit was someone else and not her because she actually thought that her bloodlust had turned her into a sleepwalker. She then jumped onto the roof beside the person and demanded to know who they were. The universe answered by blowing the hood off the person's face, and they were surprised to see that it was Kuze. When Erika began questioning the hows and the whys, Kuze admitted that she'd caused a stir to draw out her master. She then jumped down to where the boys were, but the moment Iori revealed that she was a dependent, she tried to escape. Erika immediately chased after her, and when they got close to the dorms, Haruna spotted two figures moving at lightning speed, so her curiosity got the best of her, and she rushed outside to find out what was happening. Meanwhile, Erika and Kuze were flying through the trees, and just when it seemed like Erika would catch Kuze, the girl gave her the slip, disappearing into the moonlight. When Erika dropped back down, she landed in front of Haruna, who went into shock after seeing Erika's glowing red eyes. Not only that, but the memories of the day Haruna got into an accident flooded into her mind. It turned out that Erika was Haruna's friend, and she had stopped Haruna from subscribing to the isekai travel plan. But then Haruna had seen her glowing eyes, so she wiped her memories. Back in the present, Haruna called Erika by her nickname and then passed out. Iiyori and Kohei arrived at that moment, and when they saw Haruna, Iiyori decided there and then what must be done. When they returned to the student council office, he told Erika that she had no choice but to erase Haruna's memories again. Erika felt bad, but since that was the only way to keep her identity a secret, she returned to the room where Haruna lay sleeping. Kohei pleaded with her not to do it, but she told him that she had to and revealed that she was the one responsible for Haruna's so-called memory loss. This made everything click into place, but Kohei still insisted that erasing Haruna's memories was wrong. As he kept talking, Erika suddenly got angry, and as her eyes turned red, she told Kohei that she needed to do it to protect her secret. She then knelt beside Haruna and placed her hand on her head, but the girl woke up at that moment and thanked Erika for saving her life 7 years ago. She even addressed her as Eri-chan again, but Erika apologized and still went ahead to wipe her memory. Kohei fell to his knees and began screaming at Erika for choosing to hurt her friend, but at that moment, Haruna woke up again and called him Ko-chan. It was the name she called him when they were younger, and Haruna confirmed that her memories had returned. As she began crying, Erika explained that she returned Haruna's memories because she didn't want to keep deceiving her friends. Hearing this, Haruna thanked her and the two hugged, happy to be reunited by the truth at last. The next day, Kuze woke up on a hill overlooking the ocean, looking very dazed until a black cat approached her. However, a few days later, as Erika and Kohei walked to school, Kohei informed her that Kuze had been missing since that night. Haruna had also been absent from school because the shock of her memories returning was too much for her body to handle. Hearing this made Erika feel bad, but she snapped out of it when he asked if she was really okay with Haruna telling Kanade the truth, as she had said she would. Erika answered that she was, seeing as she decided that she didn't want to continue lying to those she loved. Just then, an angry Kanade blocked their path with Haruna in tow and asked them to follow her, so they did. When they got to a secluded area, she suddenly switched up and hugged Erika, saying she was grateful to her for saving Haruna's life. She didn't even care that Erika was a vampire because she was her friend before anything else, and nothing would change that. This acceptance lifted a weight off Erika's shoulders, and while they were being all emotional and stuff, Kuze casually walked past them like she wasn't the most wanted person at the academy. Unaware of this, Kanade and Haruna tried to greet her, only to get snubbed as Kuze made her way into the school building. Once inside, she encountered Iiyori and Seichiro, but the girl ignored them and kept walking to class. At this, Seichiro asked Iiyori if he was completely sure that Kuze was a dependent, and Iiyori confirmed it, saying that her master was someone they both knew very well. Later that same day, Erika also asked if Iiyori knew who Kuze's master was, and the idiot put on a one-man show to answer the question. When he asked Erika if she wanted to meet with Kuze's master, she got all defensive and said there was no need. Shiro walked in at that moment with some tea, but Seichiro made her leave, saying there were some things she wasn't supposed to hear. Iiyori then ordered Erika to stay away from the Kuze case, and when she tried to protest, he reminded her of the promise she made. Shortly after he said this, Kohei walked into the room and noticed that the vibe was off, but Erika assured him that it was just sibling banter. As for Iiyori, he claimed Kohei was late and, as punishment, had to scrub all the campus bathrooms. However, he realized it was too much for one person to handle, so, as a professional taskmaster, he changed his mind and instructed Kohei to take charge of planning the cultural festival with Erika. That night, during their weekly tea party, Erika and Kohei told their friends about their new roles. Everyone had a different reaction to the news, but Haruna was the only one who asked why Iiyori had dumped the task on them. Shiro explained that he was trying to train them to become his successors since he and Seichiro would be graduating soon. The pair still believed that Iiyori was just being lazy, but Kanade told them not to worry because she and the others would help them. She then began bringing up ideas, and everyone else just followed her lead. They brainstormed until 9 p.m., when the girls had to leave, and as Kohei stood outside with Tsukasa, Tsukasa told him not to keep his feelings bottled up for so long. Kohei was surprised that Tsukasa had noticed something was wrong, but the boy just brushed it off and walked to his room. The next day, while Kuze was reading by the lake, Seiichiro approached her and said there was someone he wanted her to meet. Meanwhile, Kohei and Erika went into town and, while shopping, spread the word about the upcoming cultural festival. The vendors didn't hesitate to offer their support since they had enjoyed the sports festival, and the pair were grateful. Later, instead of returning to campus, Kohei and Erika went to the beach for a little chat, and Kohei asked her who a dependent was. He pointed out that since Erika found out that Kuze was one, Erika had been distracted, so he wanted to help her in any way he could. At that moment, it began to rain, and in a mansion somewhere in the mountains, Seiichiro took Kuze to meet her master. Erika then explained to Kohei that descendants were people who had formed contracts with vampires and drank their blood. It gives them all the physical properties and attributes of a vampire, but they remain human. Sometimes they hibernate like bears, but the most important part of the contract is that they can never go against their master. To round off her explanation, Erika revealed that Kuze's master was most likely her mother, Kaya. At that same time, Kuze finally met Kaya, and the first thing she did was to slap her. Seiichiro tried to intervene, but Kaya stopped him and said she had enjoyed playing tag with Kuze. Kuze replied that she was done playing her game and tried to leave, but Kaya ordered her back, and Kuze's body complied. Kuze's eyes were vacant, making it clear that she wasn't in control of her mind and body, so she didn't struggle when Kaya pulled her closer. The woman said dependents were born to serve their vampire masters, but she couldn't understand why her daughter was against the idea of getting one. Back on the beach, Erika shared with Kohei that, to be allowed to attend the academy, she had to promise her mother that she would take a dependent upon her graduation. If she didn't, she would be bundled back home and forced to live there forever. Kaya had locked her up in the past because she felt Erika wasn't vampire material, which was why she even brokered that deal in the first place. Kohei got pissed off hearing this, but Erika told him to chill out and swore she would find a way to prove to her mother that Gen Z vampires didn't need dependents. Still, he couldn't help but worry and even offered to become her dependent if it would get her mother off her case. Erika asked whether his central processing unit was damaged, since she clearly told him that dependents were neither human nor vampire. They were literal puppets who lived to do their master's bidding and serve as an endless blood supply for them. She said she couldn't bear to do something so cruel to Kohei, as she, too, wanted to live as a human. Kohei tried to make her see that she was the only one losing out on the deal, but Erika wanted to hear none of it and swore that she would never get a dependent. A little while later, Kohei and Erika arrived at the dorm, and when she got to her room, she helped herself to the blood she had in the fridge, but it didn't quench her thirst, and she found herself craving Kohei's blood, even though she had never tasted it. Days later, students formed a line which stretched as far as the eye could see because they each wanted to submit a proposal to Erika for the cultural festival. Erika carefully reviewed the proposals and, for those she felt couldn't be done, came up with alternative suggestions. As Kohei watched her work, he said he could feel the heat coming from the hallway. Shiro said it was to be expected since everyone was trying to get things over with before the summer break began the following week. The cultural festival was a very big deal for the school, so even though it wasn't happening until after the break, no one was willing to take any chances. Yuri soon inserted himself into the conversation, and after being all dramatic, he told Kohei that he couldn't wait to see how he'd pull off the cultural festival. Hours later, the line was gone, and everyone finished what they had to do, so they decided to call it a day. When Yuri, who had done nothing but sit and look pretty, suggested that they throw a party, Erika told him to party by himself and left with Kohei. As they exited the building, she began listing the things still to be done, prompting Kohei to say she had turned into a workaholic. Erika replied that the thought of seeing everyone happy motivated her to put in the work, and Kohei couldn't help but admire her. They then continued discussing ideas until they arrived at the dorm and went their separate ways. However, Erika received an invitation from her mother in the form of a black cat, so she had no choice but to honor it. Upon arriving at her former prison, she didn't feel comfortable, but then hearing her mother's voice made it even worse. The woman mockingly told her that she looked good and demanded to know why Erika hadn't made Kohei her dependent yet. She reminded her that her time to fulfill her promise was running out, and Erika asked why she needed to take a dependent in the first place. Kaya smiled and called her a fool, stating that she already knew the answer, since transfused blood could do little to quench her thirst. Erika knew deep down that Kaya was right, but she still refused to acknowledge it and swore that she would find a way around the whole vampire-dependent arrangement because she refused to live the way Kaya wanted her to. The next day, Kande and Iori announced to Kohei and the others that they were getting a beach episode. It was all Kanade's idea to help them de-stress from all the cultural festival planning for one day, and she had drawn all the activities she wanted them to do. Her drawings were nowhere near Picasso's level, so Tsukasa laughed at them, but Kohei said he loved her ideas. Unfortunately, Shiro said she wouldn't join them as she had to practice the dance for the autumn festival at the shrine. Kanade was bummed out about this because she had wanted to have fun with everyone. Haruna then suggested that they watch the fireworks display from the shrine so that Shiro and Seichiro wouldn't be left out. Seichiro said it was fine as long as they finished practice before the display time, and everyone cheered. That night, Erika stood staring at her blood supply and convinced herself that she didn't need to take any to the beach because she could control her bloodlust. The next day, everyone showed up at the beach as planned and drove straight into playing in the water and engaging in other fun beach activities. They also played beach volleyball, but after the game, Erika felt her bloodlust creeping up when Kohei touched her shoulder. Iiyori happened to see everything from his lounge chair, but he chose not to say anything. When evening rolled around, everyone gathered around to enjoy some barbecue, but Erika sat by the shore, trying to control her thirst. When Kohei came to bring her some water, she panicked but managed to compose herself. It also helped that he didn't sit so close to her, as they chatted about how the day went by in a flash. Kohei wondered if the cultural festival would also go by in a flash, and Erika told him that the most important thing was that they made memories on that day. Kohei agreed with her way of thinking and said he hoped the memories they made would be good ones. After they chatted a little more, he suggested that they rejoin the others, but when he stretched out his hand for Erika to take, her chest began hurting again, so she ran off. As Kohei contemplated going after her, Yuri jumped down from the rock behind him and revealed that Erika was about to reach her limit. He also explained that if Erika kept refusing to drink human blood, she wouldn't be able to control her vampiric urges and would be in constant pain. The worst part was that she'd gone beyond the point where her blood bags could quench her thirst, and he hoped that something wouldn't happen to her. Before walking away, he planted the idea of becoming an emergency blood supply for Erika in Kohei's head, knowing very well that the boy had hero syndrome and wouldn't hesitate to do it. After the sun went down, the group made their way to the shrine. While Yuri acted as a tour guide, giving everyone the history of the Togi family's shrine duties, Kohei lingered at the back with Erika. When he asked how she was feeling, she assured him that she was fine and even told him that he was acting weird. She then moved forward so he wouldn't notice her clutching her chest, but she was slowly finding it harder to bear the pain. When they eventually arrived at the shrine, Kanade gushed over how cute Shiro looked in her yukata before the younger girl directed them to where they could also change. A few minutes later, they returned, and Tsukasa got a disciplinary badge slapped on his head for failing to compliment them properly. After that, they gathered to watch the fireworks display, and Kohei noticed that something was off with Erika, but she still insisted that she was fine. As the fireworks went off, Yuri pushed everyone, saying he wanted them to get a better look. This caused Kohei to fall against Erika, and almost immediately, her eyes turned red. It only changed back when he pulled away, but then a few seconds later, Kohei noticed that she'd left. Worried, he went searching for her and found her lying on the ground in pain. When he tried to help her, she fought against him, but he didn't let go and even hugged her. Being so close to him made it hard for Erika to control herself, and she ended up sinking her fangs into his neck. But she wasn't happy about it and even started crying. The next day, Erika woke up in her room with no memory of how she got there. She tried her best to remember, but her memory didn't go beyond her falling in the woods, so she concluded that she had somehow endured the pain and made it back. Later in the day, while Kohei was trying to get to the student council office with some reference materials, some students called out to him with questions. He told them that he was in a hurry, but promised to come back and help. During that time, Erika was happily working in the council office, and when Iiyori pointed out that she was extra cheerful, she told him she just felt good. She also said she might have found a way to keep herself out of her mother's manipulative clutches, and Iiyori became intrigued. Just then, Kohei walked into the room, apologizing for arriving late. Erika approached him to collect the items in his hands, but the next moment, the pain in her chest resurfaced. Confused, she moved back, accidentally knocking over the teacup that Shiro had left for her. But she didn't care, as she was too focused on understanding what was going on. Then it hit her. She hadn't overcome her urges alone, and immediately the memories of the previous night flooded into her mind. Unable to believe it, she asked Kohei what he'd done, but the boy was just as confused as everyone else. When he tried to help her up, she told him that she was fine and even thanked him for saving her life. She then got up and began acting like everything was alright, leaving Kohei with no room to question her. As they began working, Shiro moved over to Iiyori's table and pointed out that Erika had been acting strange lately. Seichiro told her immediately that it wasn't any of her business, so the girl locked up. During lunch, Kohei was assaulted with a sticker because Kanade was angry that he and Erika had dipped during the fireworks display. Kohei claimed they had gone off to discuss plans for the festival's after-party because the fireworks had given him an idea. Intrigued, his friends asked what the idea was, but he told them he would tell them when he had a solid plan. Later, when Erika returned to the dorm, she tried using her blood bags, but they did nothing to quench her thirst. She craved Kohei's blood badly, but refused to acknowledge it and decided the best thing to do was to stay away from Kohei. She succeeded in doing that for a few days, and the fact that he was swamped with work also helped them avoid spending time together. Kohei soon realized that she was avoiding him, but there wasn't anything he could do. One night, while it was raining, he tried calling her but decided against it so he wouldn't annoy her. Meanwhile, Erika was fighting her pain and urges, and when it looked like she couldn't handle it anymore, Kuze showed up with the black cat. She had come to deliver a message from Kaya, asking Erika to return home, since Erika had refused to make Kohei her dependent. Erika didn't want to believe that Kuze was back with her mother. Still, the truth was clear, so she told her that Kaya didn't actually care about her well-being. Kaya had the habit of erasing Kuze's memory so she could watch as she searched for her everywhere, so Erika couldn't understand why Kuze went back to her. Kuze simply said it was because it was Kaya's wish, and she couldn't disobey her. Hearing this, Erika said that was why she wouldn't take a dependent, because the thought of having so much power over another person was terrifying. Kuze told her that it was really up to her. However, she didn't think that Erika would last much longer. Just before she disappeared with the next lightning strike, she advised Erika to reconsider her decision. In the early hours of the morning, Kohei was woken by the sound of a crash, and when he went to check, he found Kanade hanging upside down from her ladder. Haruna was still in the maintenance hole, but she did ask her sister how she was doing. A little later, after Kohei let the girls in, Kanade explained that she'd come down to hang some dolls to get the sun to come out so that they could carry on with the festival preparations. Apparently, she'd chosen Kohei's balcony because he was the lead organizer, and Kohei didn't even know what to say. Haruna told him just to let it slide and offered him some tea as a peace offering. Kanade pointed out that they hadn't had a tea party in ages and suggested calling Erika to join them. Kohei immediately shot down the idea, saying it was still too early. Haruna then asked Kohei how his idea for the after party was coming along, and he admitted that he was still drawing blanks. However, when Kanade began juggling the dolls in her hands, an idea suddenly occurred to him. So as soon as the rain let up, he rushed to the student council office to tell Erika, but found only Shiro, Iyori, and Seichiro. Iyori told him that Erika had gone to the shopping district, but in fact, she was hiding in the closet. Shiro then asked Kohei what he wanted to discuss with Erika, and he told her it was the idea he had for the festival after party. He said it was called the Parachute of Happiness, explaining that it would be launched with the fireworks so students could try to catch it. Then he would tell the students that whoever found it would have their wish come true. Shiro told him that the idea was a good one, adding that Erika would definitely love it, and Kohei agreed. He then left the plans with Shiro and left, but when Shiro tried to call him back, Seichiro stopped her because he knew she was about to snitch. Once Kohei was gone, Erika came out of hiding and went to look at the plan, but as soon as she touched it, she was struck by intense pain. Iyuri walked up to her and said her only choice was to keep taking Kohei's blood, but Erika stubbornly refused. He expected her to say that, so he suggested she take someone else as her dependent. When he mentioned that the person had to be someone close to her, Shiro immediately volunteered and refused to change her mind, even when Seichiro voiced his disagreement. Seeing his sister's determination, Seichiro realized that Iyori had played all of them as he always did, so he grabbed his collar. Unfortunately, Seichiro couldn't do anything to Iyori because he was his master, and the moment Iyori ordered him to let go, Seichiro obeyed. Erika then asked Iyori if he'd allowed Shiro to join the student council just so she could become her dependent, and the boy said potato, potato. At this, Erika decided she wouldn't be manipulated again, so she hugged Shiro and promised to find another solution to her problem. Unfortunately, that was easier said than done, so that night, she tried to go and see Kohei, but changed her mind at the last second. So, she just dropped off the mini parachute he'd included in the plans and left. The surprising thing was that she returned home and let Kaya lock her up, but that pissed Kaya off. She couldn't believe that Erika had chosen imprisonment over doing the natural thing, so she called her a failure. The next day, when Kohei came out of his room, he found the parachute in front of his door, so he went straight to the student council office to look for Erika. Shiro tried to tell him the truth, but Seichiro stopped her since it wasn't really her place. Iyori then got up and told Kohei that his plan for the after-party was good and that he should go ahead with it. Kohei had no problem with it but said he still wanted to know what Erika thought. At this, Iyori revealed that Erika had returned home, and Shiro started blaming herself. Seichiro tried to stop her again, but the girl's guilt was too much for her to bear, so she kept talking and told Kohei about how she volunteered to be Erika's dependent. As she sobbed harder, Iyori asked Kohei to step outside with him for a few minutes and then took him to the chapel so they could be alone. There, he explained that once a vampire had drunk directly from a human, their vampiric urges intensified. However, if they decided not to continue, unbearable pain would accompany those urges. When Shiro saw that Erika was suffering like that, she offered to become her dependent, but, being who she was, Erika refused and returned home. He added that Kohei must either accept Erika's decision or help her return to school. He also promised to wait for Kohei's answer and then left him alone to ponder. As the day progressed, Kohei went about his business on autopilot, his mind and thoughts on Erika. He knew how much she loved the school and tried to imagine how much she was suffering because of her genetic makeup. When the other students asked about Erika, He gave them excuses for her absence, and that was harder than he thought. During lunch, he got some free time, but because he was so lost in thought, he mistook Haruna for Erika. When Kanade heard this, she began scolding him, but Haruna defended him, saying he was probably just stressed out. When Kohei didn't say anything, the sisters figured something was up, so Kanade declared that they would hold an emergency tea party after school so that Kohei could vent. She instructed Kohei to invite Erika since they were working together, but he couldn't tell her that Erika wasn't around. So when evening rolled around and everyone gathered for the party, Kohei returned and told them that Erika had been caught with something and couldn't attend. The girls didn't think anything of it and said they would just find Erika the next day and hang out with her. After hearing this, Kohei realized that he couldn't keep hiding the truth, so he revealed that Erika had left and would never return. He then started blaming himself, but Kanade didn't even let him go very far before she slapped a sticker on his head. According to her, Erika loved the school way too much to call it quits over something he supposedly did suddenly. She told Kohei that instead of sitting around and crying like a loser, he should apologize to Erika and bring her back to school. Tsukasa also added that it was time to man up, and that seemed to be the wake-up call Kohei needed all along, because he suddenly perked up and swore that he would bring Erika back no matter what. He then ran out like a man on a mission, and didn't stop until he found Iiyori and Seiichiro, who were coincidentally waiting by the gate. Iiyori graciously offered to take Kohei to see Erika, and the boy was very grateful. Meanwhile, Erika was in her cell, fighting off another wave of pain, when Kuze arrived to inform her that Kaya wanted to speak with her. A little while later, Iiyori, Seiichiro, and Kohei arrived at the house and went straight to speak with Kaya. When Kaya saw Kohei, she asked if he'd come to become Erika's dependent, and he answered that he'd come to take Erika back. His boldness shocked and annoyed her, but her annoyance was more so she demanded to know how that was beneficial to Erika. Kohei explained that Erika's dream was to live as a human, but his answer didn't cut it, so Kaya sent him flying with her powers. She then approached him and said a human had no right to speak on matters involving vampires because they didn't understand anything about them. The next moment, she grabbed him by the neck, and as she began squeezing, she told him that every vampire needed a dependent to survive. Kohei still argued that Erika wasn't interested in that lifestyle. Hearing this, Iiyori commented that Kohei was really putting up a fight, but the way he said it made Seiichiro realize that Iiyori had once again manipulated the situation. Iiyori didn't deny it and reminded Seiichiro that he had always had high hopes for Kohei. Kaya didn't appreciate that word, but Iiyori clarified that he wasn't on anyone's side and only wanted to see the outcome of Erika's choice. Kaya answered that the only outcome was Kohei's death, and as she began squeezing his throat, Erika arrived and pleaded with her mother to let Kohei go. In response to her plea, Kaya threw Kohei towards Erika and demanded that she make him her dependent right there and then. She threatened to unalive Kohei if Erika didn't do it, but Erika still refused. Kohei then addressed her, saying he'd come to take her back, but she told him that she was never going back because his life would be in danger. Kohei didn't seem to think so, and asked if her condition had improved since she returned. When she didn't respond, he guessed her answer was no and told her that if she returned, he wouldn't mind giving her his blood now and then to ease her pain. Kaya argued that he was being ridiculous because the moment Erika tasted his blood again, she wouldn't be able to resist and would make him her dependent. Kohei said he didn't really care and that it was up to Erika to decide what she wanted because it was her life. He then offered his hand to Erika and said that as long as she had him and their friends, she would never be alone or suffer. Much to Kaya's dismay, Erika took Kohei's hand, and they walked out of the house together. Iiyori and Seiichiro then went to a hill, and Seiichiro asked Iiyori if that was the outcome he had expected. Iiyori answered that he didn't know because their relationship was still developing. Back inside the house, Kaya kept complaining, but she was certain that Erika would still change her mind, so she ordered Kuze to return to school and watch Erika's every move. A little while later, Kohei and Erika arrived at school and were welcomed by their friends who had waited all night for them. Days later, the cultural festival kicked off, and everything went smoothly thanks to Kohei's expert planning. The after-party was the best part, and Kohei's little parachute idea was well received. He even caught one with Erika, and they both promised to keep making happy memories together. Do you think Erika would eventually make Kohei her dependent, or would they find a way around it permanently? If you got this far, comment which character was your favorite. Also, check out this next video.